Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to a brand new episode of Definitive Discussion Rebooted, my discussion show where I bring on phenomenal guests from all over the internet, from geekdom and the world of gaming, all types of stuff onto the show. And we deep dive into convos that I know you guys will love. If you haven't already, please check out the previous episodes. There's an entire playlist on the channel right now with all the different guests and the deep dives that we've had so far. This one's going to be fun today. You guys are in for a treat because today I have Jay, aka Drunk3PO, on the show with me to talk about Star Wars because he does a lot of Star Wars related content. He also does a lot of theme park and park hopping related content and a bunch of other stuff that he has on his channel. So Jay, welcome. It's good to talk with you finally. How's it going?
Oh man, thank you. Thank you for the invite. Things are going faster than I thought it was going. So
yeah,
I'm glad we finally got a chance to sit down. I know I kept telling you over and over, like, keep messaging me. You're not bothering me. Keep messaging me. Stay on me. Stay on me.
You've been busy for a hot minute because again, like I watch a lot of your content. There's a lot of stuff you've been busy with, like a lot of good.
It's a weird busy, you know. It's like 4 days of like nonstop, and then it's like 3 days of nothing. But in that 3 days of nothing, it's like I've got to do the laundry.
Well, laundry's
I've got to go grocery shopping. Yeah, maybe I should just watch a movie and like turn the world off for a minute. You know, it's been like it's like that. It's bizarre, crazy.
But it's still good though. I mean, you've done a lot of interesting stuff lately. Like even today, you know, at the time we're recording this, you just did a video about John Boyega and a lot of stuff that's been going on with him. You obviously did some of the content with Gina Carano and a lot of other Star Wars related news content, which we're going to talk about Star Wars today. We're going to talk about current Star Wars and kind of where our feelings are at or where we stand right now with current Star Wars, because like you and like a lot of other people out there, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I have a connection to the movie back in 1977 with A New Hope coming out, and many other people feel very similar and stuff, but we all have our opinions and our stances about new Star Wars. So currently right now, I mean, how are you feeling about Star Wars? Is it good or bad for you? Because you watch some of your content, and it's like sometimes you're having a good day, sometimes you're having a real bad day, some days you're having a real confusing one. Like it's kind of wild sometimes.
Yeah. First off, all right, this could take a second. So let me take a deep breath. But
okay, yeah.
I love Star Wars means the world to me. I love Star Wars. I love it. And I think that's why you see people that are so passionate about what's happening to Star Wars in their own mind, what I see what's happening to Star Wars.
Yeah.
I was super excited. Let's go back. Love Star Wars. Camped out to get tickets for the prequels. That was probably
so that's episode 1, 2, and 3, more than likely. Like that.
Oh man, and we were just young and just like stupid and like sleeping outside and to see like 100 people like camping out of the theater in Fort Lauderdale.
That was a thing, man. That was real.
100, like all you talk about diversity, man. Just like all kinds of people, young and old, waiting to buy a ticket. That's how you did it back then, you know.
Yeah.
There was no apps. You had to go to the theater to buy.
Yeah, you remember checking the newspaper for times? You remember checking for the show times on the newspaper?
I did the call, like the movie phone or whatever that was. You call in and it was on repeat. Somebody recorded that, but man, just seeing all these Star Wars fans, you know, for the Fandom Menace, just waiting, you know, and buying everybody donuts and reenacting the old movies, and just for a couple of days, it was.
I love that.
So cool, you know, it was just so cool, and so that's why the prequels have such a special love for me. I never saw the originals in the theater.
You didn't see the special edition at all?
I saw when they re-released them, but I had already watched them like a gazillion times because we own them. You know, my parents own them on VHS, and so it wasn't like it was cool to see them in the theaters, but it wasn't like seeing the prequels where it was like, this is it. You know, I don't know what I'm gonna see. We don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know. So the prequels have such a special love, and it was kind of neat because I actually felt a little bit with The Force Awakens. It was like, this is cool, man. I'm hyped up. I saw The Force Awakens. I'm back and forth between 6 and 7 times. I saw it a lot.
Yeah.
I saw it a lot because it was Star Wars on the big screen again. And I saw that, and I saw Rogue One several times. I was just like, I was so hyped to see Luke Skywalker, and then The Last Jedi, and then it just turned into like, what am I watching? It's like, what is this? And so, during that phase of Star Wars, it was weird speaking out against The Last Jedi and what Disney was doing with Star Wars. Was such a weird, because you had the director Rian Johnson and others just criticizing those that was criticizing his film. And I've never seen that before. Because, I guess social media just opened up, and gosh, man, Star Wars just took such a huge turn. Yeah, it was really weird. And you just kind of like, what am I watching? And then you start to question, and you're just like, that's not Luke, at least in my opinion. And then the people that got mad at us for questioning, I'm like, you don't understand our passion for Star Wars, and we love Star Wars, and we didn't like where it was going. So yeah, we're going to Last Shot. Anyway, so that brings us all up. I was removed from it a little bit. I watched The Rise of Skywalker in the theater. That was the last movie I saw in a movie theater.
Oh, really?
Which is really sad. Yeah, that was the last, because then, we were hit with the lockdowns and all that stuff. True. And there wasn't really anything out that I wanted to see. But so that was the last. And then Disney Plus happened, and
we got
Mandalorian and stuff. And so when Gina Carano and Carl Weathers and all them, right around Mando, the end of Mandalorian season 1, when they started to reconnect with fans, because Carl Weathers was great on social media too with fans. He took criticism with a grain of salt, and he showed a lot of love. Gina started showing a lot of love to fans on Twitter, saying, I hope you like it. We did our best, this and that. It really brought me back to a fan again. And then when they gave us Luke Skywalker, and I'm going really quick here, so go ahead. There was a lot in between, but the Luke Skywalker at the end of Mandalorian, that I was like, okay, you got my attention. I'm going to support Gina because of who she was and what she was doing with fans. Carl Weathers was the same. So I'm going to support this. So I'm going to step back in, and then it all came crashing down like month after.
That's putting it lightly.
A month after. Yeah, like a month after Mando 2, they, the whole Gina situation, the whole Pablo Hidalgo Star Wars theory situation, all that stuff dude, I was back in, and I was starting to enjoy it for what it was. It still wasn't the same George Lucas feel, but I was starting to just kind of relax and enjoy it. And they totally pulled the rug out. So right now, people ask about Star. I canceled my Disney Plus because of what they did to Gina. I haven't seen anything.
So you haven't watched Bad Batch or anything like that?
No, but what I have done, because I do have friends that really enjoy, I usually watch Star Wars Theory and another one, Star Wars Meg. I watch their reviews.
Same.
They do a really good job with their reviews, and just to kind of keep up with the story a little bit, for that and to support my friends, so I kind of know what's going on. But nah, man, the last thing I watched on Disney Plus was WandaVision, and then that's it. No Loki, no Winter Soldier, and I'm a huge
Marvel head.
Marvel guy,
like me.
Man.
You're like me.
Huge.
Yeah.
Like huge, man. Like Marvel's like right there, and it's just like I gotta stick to my convictions on this until.
So let me go back. Let me go back a little bit to some of the stuff you mentioned.
That's where I'm at with Star Wars. Yeah, no problem. That's where I'm at with Star Wars right now. It's kind of a love-hate. I still love everything before. I got everything on DVD. I still collect the old toys and all that stuff, and then we can get into Galaxy's Edge, which is really.
Well, we'll get into that. Don't worry, because I want to touch on a little, but I want to go back a little bit to some of the stuff that you mentioned, because I can relate to a lot of that. Because like you, I obviously saw the prequels in theaters. I remember the biggest one obviously was Episode 3, and that there was a number of reasons for that for a lot of people. Because I saw them when I was living in New York at the time. I had lived in New York for many years, and I used to go to Central Avenue to watch all the prequels there. So I saw Episode 1, 2, and 3 in the same movie theaters, like at least that little chain that was there, and that was a thing. That was a a moment, or moments, I should say, for a lot of people. And I think that we got something similar, especially now moving on towards The Force Awakens, because luckily for me, when I saw Force Awakens, I went that opening night, so I saw it in IMAX. And the cool thing is that down here in Florida, for anybody that doesn't know, we have the 501st Legion. That's like that division of it here in Florida, and they decided to show up in full force to the movie theater in the Sawgrass Mills. So we were all sitting there, and you have all these people in costumes and like stormtrooper armor, Darth Vader armor, Mandalorian armor. They had the actual droid units with them that were actually like remote control, standing with us in the audience as we were sitting down. Like, it was a whole spectacle. Like, that was the type of moment that I loved from going to see a movie like that, or even seeing like a Marvel movie where you would see like a lot of fans, of these properties all come out in force and just together enjoy the stuff that they enjoy. Like, that was the pinnacle of new Star Wars for me. When Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker came out, I felt that even back during when Han Solo came out, or Solo, A Star Wars Story, came out, a lot of that was lost because of all the stuff that was going on outside of the movies themselves. And I feel like that's predominantly like what everybody, us included, talks about Star Wars now these days, because it's not so much about the content and the characters of the films. It's more about the conversations outside of them. And I think that's a huge problem for the fandom and for the franchise in general and stuff. Like, do you believe, at least in your opinion, right? Do you feel that a lot of this stuff is really kind of self-caused by Disney or by the people that are behind the films most of the time, at least in the state that we're in right now?
Yeah. I mean, that's how they're handling it. I think Bob Iger's book was very enlightening when it came to the Star Wars IP. He has a whole chapter when it comes to Star Wars, and he was
when he sold it to Lucas, right? When he sold it to George Lucas, right?
Yeah, when Bob Iger was CEO of Disney, he bought Star Wars from George Lucas. But in the book, he's like, the board, the investors were like, "Hey, we just spent almost $5 billion, and we're gonna spend like a couple more billions to build this theme park. We need some money." So there's a part in that book that a lot of people miss where he's talking to J.J. Abrams, and he's like, "Hey, J.J., we need a movie. Like, we need some movies quick. Like, we got to make some money. Like, we just spent." All this money.
Like, let's go. Like, let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and so he was like, he even said in his book, he was like, JJ wasn't too happy with me kind of pushing him to get the movie done. So The Force Awakens was originally supposed to be released in May, and JJ's like, man, I can't get this thing done. Like, you guys are like pushing to get this movie out to start generating money back. So then they extended it to December, so he had more time. It was the same way with The Rise of Skywalker. There's hundreds of reports out there saying that they were pushing JJ to get this movie out ASAP, and he was like, whatever, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do this. And so it's just crazy that they would handle an IP like that, because now, so basically what happened, Star Wars was in the hands of the creator of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now it was in the hands of a business that needed to make money.
Ironically, the same thing I know that George Lucas like subtly hinted at in his original movies over many years. Like, because George Lucas has been very outspoken almost, or very like open about like, the whole idea of like a whole machine, or like stuff that's like different compared to like, just like more having a more creative process as opposed to handling things with a business where things are a little bit more robotic and much more streamlined, where there's not a lot of energy going into the creative process. Like, it's funny and ironic like that, how when it ended up getting bought out by Disney, like that was really a lot of things that ended up happening, especially with the newer movies and the newer parts of the IP.
Oh yeah, it was just rushed. Like, we need to make money. And I mean, look, George Lucas had issues with Hollywood from day one. That's why he did his own thing. He started his own company. He created all that stuff because he's like, I'm not going to follow your guidelines. I'm going to do it my way. And he's like, this is about my creation. This is about what I'm writing. This is about everything that's inside of me. It's not about a corporate, machine. Like, this is what I want to make, and if it works, it works.
Let me ask you a question, because I think this is also important to acknowledge too, because obviously I think me and you both agree that the real like fracture point for newer Star Wars these days was The Last Jedi. I think that a lot of people would probably agree with us on that. Do you feel that a lot of the mistakes that were done during the time when that movie was being made, and then obviously what happened afterwards, was that because it got away from the fact of just telling great stories, or at least telling a great story, as part of this legacy, this franchise, and more about getting caught up on other things? Because the argument could be made that a lot of the people behind it, so including Rian Johnson, you could throw in Kathleen Kennedy, you could throw in a lot of other people at Lucasfilm, that they were caught up on other issues that were going on with Hollywood, as opposed to just telling a great Star Wars story that's going to keep people coming back. Because that's how it, you got that vibe from earlier Star Wars movies, like the original 6, like those came I think it was like once every like 2 or 3 years, or maybe 4 years, give or take.
Yeah,
and
it was of 2 years.
Yeah, something like that. There was time built in between them, but also when you look at the way that those movies are structured and the way those movies are made, and some of the stuff, the philosophies and the other lessons that come out of them, they don't feel current, or at least the stuff that they're talking about isn't so current in that moment. Like, you're not getting the 1997 politics in The Phantom Menace. You're not getting that same thing from Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. But even then, you're not getting stuff that's like of the moment with Hollywood back then in those movies. And I feel like, obviously, even with The Force Awakens to an extent, you're kind of getting stuff like that. Beyond the superficial stuff that people usually go to. Like, do you feel like that's a safe assessment to say that that was probably the real reason why Star Wars as an IP got all muddied up?
Actually, I think it's a smaller part than what a lot of people might think. It's because when you hear all this information coming out, for me personally, I just think it was just so rushed because the pressure from the board of directors wanting money back in their pockets.
Yeah.
And Rian Johnson was given the task to do the second film before The Force Awakens was even considered like filming. And he talks about that. He made it clear. Like, he's like, yeah, I started he had like a brief outline. And that was the big issue, is nobody really sat down and planned it out.
Yeah. That's the biggest mistake out of that entire Disney Star Wars
huge.
Yeah.
It's just like, we're just doing it off the fly. I mean, when you have Daisy Ridley come out and they're like, well, I was going to be Kenobi, and then I was going to be this, and then I was going to be that. And then they're like,
can you honestly imagine, with that logic, can you honestly imagine if the Marvel Cinematic Universe was done like that with Kevin Feige at the helm? Like, it'd be insane, right?
Oh, man, it wouldn't be what it was, for 10 years. What people could say whatever they want, that there was bad movies in there, but Marvel gave us 11 years of a consistent story.
And there's not a lot of bad movies in that Marvel Cinematic Universe.
No, I love them all.
They're really good.
Except Captain Marvel. I was kind of like, that should have been Black Widow.
For me, it was Thor: The Dark World. That was the only real bad movie I could say. Or The Incredible Hulk. And that's not even because of Kevin Feige and the MCU's fault, but I digress.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. Yeah. I don't think it was their fault, but they kept the story. Like, they're like, here's the blueprint.
There's a map with it.
Yeah, we're gonna start with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Iron Man was not he was a known, but he wasn't like a Spider-Man
or the X-Men.
One of those.
Yeah.
Right. He just wasn't a big character to start with, but they had a plan to make Iron Man the biggest hero of them all. They had a plan and it worked. Starting with Iron Man was risky because it's like, I thought if they would have asked me, I would start with the biggest one that they had, which would be Spider-Man. You start with Spider-Man and like go. That's the IP.
I would say Captain America. I would say Captain America because
that could be another one.
It's like their Superman of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or at least the Marvel Universe, and the way that he's kind of handled because he's from World War II and stuff. But I see what you mean, because at the time, Sony owned Spider-Man, and they didn't own Blade, they didn't own the X-Men, they didn't own the Fantastic Four. Like, there was a lot of like hurdles they had to go over.
But if you were gonna pick one character from Marvel to start a 10-year run, you normally would start with the most popular.
Yeah.
And even though Spider-Man is not my favorite, he's definitely already had a bunch of movies that were hugely successful. So everyone knows that. Everyone knows that IP. Starting with Iron Man, I thought was risky, but it paid off. I mean, it's just it paid off for Marvel. Mm-hmm. And what I think happened with Star Wars, so not having a plan. If you see what's happening now, I think, and this is just clearly speculation on my part, I honestly think when you look at the numbers from the box office from the Disney trilogy and how they just kind of, they made $1 billion, but it just kind of like
Yeah.
The Rise of Skywalker should have made Endgame type of money. If
but it
that's the
didn't.
grand finale of it all, are you kidding me? That should be like 3 billion easy, but it just barely scraped over $1 billion.
I think people honestly
have lost interest.
Honestly, people were done. I think a lot of people were done by that point, especially after Last Jedi, and especially more again outside of the movies. The conversation about these films, I think, is what really turned people off.
No, right. But so what I'm saying is, like, I think the board of directors looked at the numbers and went, okay, let's get the Marvel people over to Star Wars because something's wrong here. So you had Jon Favreau moved over. When they announced The Mandalorian, they announced it in a way as if, hey, we got a little side project here.
Yeah.
And they're going to have some fun. So enjoy it. That's how Kennedy announced. It wasn't like a big hoo-ha. It was like, and so now all of a sudden, the Star Wars universe right now is being built around the Mandalorian universe. So look at this for example. You had Iron Man. You started off with Iron Man. And then the whole 10-year Marvel was built around that timeline.
Yeah.
Now look, you bring Favreau over, who did Iron Man. He's got the Mandalorian. Now look at the blueprint now. Now you've got this whole universe being built around the Mandalorian. You got Book of Boba Fett. You got Ahsoka. All these things are happening around Mandalorian, which when Kennedy came out, she goes, nah, we're going to move forward. We're not going to go backwards. Well, now they've gone backwards. They've done everything opposite of what she said. And it looks like they've taken the Marvel blueprint,
of course,
and are doing it with Mandalorian as like Iron Man. And now they're building up, and they keep hinting at Thrawn, which is the same thing that Marvel did with Thanos. They kept hinting. So it's like, I could see it. I could see Ahsoka doing her series, Boba Fett doing his, Mando doing his. You got Luke out there with Baby Yoda, Grogu, whatever you want to call it. And then all of a sudden, the big bad shows up as Thrawn. Then everyone's got to come together like the Avengers
in a massive crossover.
The big bad,
exactly.
Thrawn, and there it is. There's your Marvel blueprint with Star Wars.
And you know what's crazy?
People, you got Feige, Favreau, all of them involved. I was
just gonna say,
Taika Waititi, doing the film, all that involved. It's all there. Right, it's all there.
I was just gonna say, like, because that scene, because Feige, remember, he's making his own Star Wars film, or at least he's involved with some Star Wars film. Like a lot of that stuff, definitely, I feel like you best believe he's got some sort of input over there. A lot of these other things, even though he's not announced or working on them in official capacity, because that blueprint, or at least that approach to making films and making franchises, really is what they're doing, is already been proven. It's already shown to yield results and yield results over a long period of time. And I feel like, especially the business people and the bean counters over there at Disney, would be very foolish not to look at that and be like, okay, what can we borrow that works, that can utilize for this? Because as opposed to just having one universe that works like that, why not have multiple and win like on all fronts? At least that's the way that I would look at it, because it just seems like it's a way for not only Disney to make money, but for everybody to win in the end, if that makes sense.
I mean, if making money, that's their way of seeing a win. Then I mean, that's just how it's going to be. So, and
go ahead.
After last year, with the theaters being closed and all that stuff, it's just like it doesn't surprise me that they will focus more on their streaming service, because look, it's people. It's going to be interesting to see, because you get 100 million people, so they say, signing up for your Disney Plus service at what? Let's just throw out a number, $10 a month. It'll probably roughly, and then so you have people signing up for different reasons. Some people sign up for Marvel. Some people sign up because they got kids, and there's like Disney content for days on there. So Star Wars can afford to put out agenda filled or just C+ content.
Yeah.
And how is that going to affect them, because they're not gauging on a box office anymore. So if they still have the same amount of subscribers pumping in every month, and they get that monthly check from all these subscribers, they could just put out whatever they want. That's why I really feel like, I think streaming services in the beginning, I think, is going to hurt the product of movies and cinema, because you could put out whatever you want. If you keep the same subs, you haven't lost any money.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
And also keep in mind, they don't need the middlemen with the movie theaters if they go directly to the streaming service. Too. And Disney's the one company outside of like what Warner Brothers was trying to do, or at least AT&T was trying to do with HBO Max. Disney's the only company that I could think of that can make a move like that, take the hit, and then in the long run, or not a long like period of time, but like afterwards, after some time, have a huge profit and have like at least a mind share, at least an established like, grounding with that stuff to do a lot of great things and also to make a lot of money.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And that's where we're heading. But I think eventually what we'll see is people will start to pick and choose a little bit more, where it'll be like, maybe I'll just stick with Netflix, or maybe I'll just stick with HBO Max, or maybe, they're not really giving me what I thought they were giving me. The competition's going to be, I think we'll see, I think we've already seen it, but we'll start to see like different packages where it's like, if you get this, we'll give you this too, and we'll give you that too.
True, they're doing that now already. Technically,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that'll be the Hulu. You can get Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN. I think for a package.
Yeah, as one group.
But it'll change around, and it'll be different, and they're gonna try different things. But that's just, I just think that's where we are now. The good thing about the streaming stuff is we got stuff like the Snyder Cut movie.
Yeah,
that a lot of people wanted, whether you liked it or not. I don't think that would have happened if it wasn't for streaming service.
I tell you one thing though, based on what happened with the Snyder Cut movie, I'll tell you right now, I think it's a realistic, prediction, or at least a thing to think about when it comes to getting the original Star Wars cuts, the original trilogy Star Wars like edits, before the special on Disney Plus. I think that's a win if they somehow manage to score that.
I agree. I don't know why they don't put it out there.
Dude, I don't know why they didn't put that on DVDs. Like, I understand what Lucas was saying, but let's be real for a second. Like, if you could get people to buy those movies again and again and again with like deluxe editions because of stuff like that, it's like that just seems like a layup. That seems like the best business move. I don't know why Disney hasn't done it yet. Again, for whatever reason.
Well, there's a lot of things we don't understand why Disney is doing.
Exactly.
Such as Galaxy's Edge. What the freak were they thinking with that nightmare?
Something? I was going to leave that for the Patreon stuff, but let's get into that now because I want to leave something else to the Patreon stuff because you're the best person to talk about this with that at least I know of that I could sit there and talk about Disney parks with. How the hell do you buy Star Wars as an IP? And there's like 40 plus years of people's fandom in these movies based on the planets like Tatooine, Hoth, the Death Star, and all these other Endor, all these places. And how the hell do you not capitalize on that at a theme park? And you got 2 theme parks here in the United States. You got Disneyland in California, and you got Disney World in Florida. Right? Like, how the hell does one not do? I understand the logic that Kathleen Kennedy had. We all know the story about how like she came out towards Bob Iger and somebody else and said, "Listen, we want to move forward. This is what we want to do," and all that stuff. But like, somebody over there as a bean counter got to be like, "Hey, listen, we're leaving a lot of money on the table by not doing this." Like, explain that to me. Like,
They had those people and they moved them, and that's how those stories got out because the guy that was originally building Galaxy's Edge was setting up Tatooine.
Yeah, I remember
and he was going to have a different part from all different trilogies. And then he said, Kennedy came in, said, "Nope, we're moving forward." But now they're moving back with the Mandalorian. And what you built, it's like Universal has the wonderful Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Yeah, and they also have Jurassic Park.
Imagine if they built. Yeah, imagine building Harry Potter land with a bunch of characters that were not in the movies or books, a city that was not mentioned in the movies or books, and still calling it Harry Potter land.
You're gonna be like, "What the hell?"
Walking in that and being like, "Oh, well, this is one they never mentioned. This is this, and these are the new characters." People would be like, "This is stupid."
Something. Something that I think was even stupider. Besides that, because this is how Disney didn't realize what they had because they have 2 parks, right? Why not in each one in both Disney World and Disneyland have 2 different things? So like have Batu in like Disney World, okay? Let's just say, just for the sake of argument, have Batu in Disney World, which is the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge that they have now, and then in Disneyland have Tatooine. You give people a reason to go to both theme parks. It's like,
yeah. Unfortunately, it's just a copy and paste. They're the exact same model.
It's so stupid. That's so stupid.
Design, the exact same rides. And so now they have how they get you in is they do have a life size construction of
the Falcon,
the Millennium Falcon, which is very awesome. And that's the best for me. That's the best part to see when you come around the corner, you see it sitting there, and you're kind of like, all right, that's
dope.
Cool. But here's the thing. So they created an Avatar land they created Pandora at another park. Now in Pandora, whether you like the movies or not, the rides are incredible. Like, I mean, the Flight of Passage is one of the greatest thrill rides I have ever been on.
It's a 3D ride, right? It's kind of like a 3D ride because I never been to it.
It's like a mixture of everything. Okay. Yeah, so you're like literally flying through Pandora, and the way they set it up is like, it's just unbelievable. They use the music that you're familiar with, the characters you're familiar with, everything. So everything kind of touches you. They have, you know, different smells and everything through that. It's an incredible ride, and so definitely top 5. So then you get to Galaxy's Edge. They have the Falcon ride. Who doesn't want to pilot the Millennium Falcon? All right. Of course. So when you get to the Falcon ride, it's not Han Solo or anyone. It's Hondo. And it basically takes place in the Solo movie realm where you're stealing coaxium. So it's part of the Solo movie, not exactly.
Wow.
So yeah, so like that's that. Not flying through Death Stars or anything like that, which would have been cool. Now here's the problem with the Falcon ride.
Yeah.
If you are in the Chewie seat, which I call it, or the Han seat, Chewie seat is the best seat. The Han seat is cool. Then you hit gold. You're good to go. And it's only by the luck of the draw. When you're in line, they hand you these cards and they tell you what seat you're going to sit in.
Oh,
it's yellow or red or whatever. If you are the gunner, you sit behind the pilots and you just push a button to shoot things. It's very boring. If you're the engineer, you sit even further back. And every time the person who's the pilot crashes the Falcon, you have to push a button to repair it. So basically, if like 70-year-old Betty, Grandma, and little Billy get the pilot seats, you're at the mercy of them flying it. Like, they literally fly it. One moves it up and down, the other one moves left to right.
This is not clan thinking, I'll tell you right now. Like, you need a team.
Yeah, I've been on that ride when I'm like, this ain't gonna end well. It's just nonstop crashing, crash, and it's like,
that's not fun.
You're like, it's not fun at all, bro. Like, you're just constantly being jerked around, crashing, not fulfilling, not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I can only imagine if you're going alone and you get paired up with like another family. Oh, that's gotta be rough,
dude. It's that. Now again, if you get the Chewbacca seat where you get to throw it into light speed and all that stuff, it's awesome. It's a completely different experience. If you don't, it's kind of like, hopefully you get good pilots.
Nice.
Because it's not a fun experience. Then they have the second ride, which is Rise of the Resistance. Now, I will say this. I don't like the sequel trilogy. That ride is geared around them. Mm-hmm. And that is probably top 3 adventure ride to ever go on, ever.
Really?
What they did with that, they did so well. The problem is, basically, they have cast members acting as first orders. There's acting involved in your experience. There's running in your experience. There's riding your experience.
Yeah, you're doing a lot.
Yeah, dude. It is. They thought of everything. You're literally getting on a shuttle. You get kidnapped. Not trying to give it away for people who haven't wrote it.
Yeah.
They have live actors that interact with you harshly because they're first order. You get arrested. You get thrown in jail. You get broke out. I mean, it's just. It's really cool. Whether you like the sequel trilogy or not, mm-hmm. They did an excellent job. The problem with that ride is it's so complex, it breaks down daily. And to get on that ride, it's a virtual queue system by the luck of the draw.
Oh, that sucks.
And I have been there before with friends where we've tried to get online, and I got online and they didn't.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's just like. Yeah, and then I even tried to like explain to people like, can they use my pass because they're out of town? I've ridden this 100 times, you know, but they got one shot. So it's crazy when you advertise like, "Hey, come ride Rise of the Resistance," when basically 100 people can get on, and so like you plan all this money to go do a ride and come out that's being advertised, and you can't get on it because you didn't make the virtual queue.
That's a shame.
So like those are some of the dumb things that they did that were just makes no sense, you know.
Here's a good question for you. And I think this is a good way to wrap things up. Do you think that if at some point, especially with some of the previous plans that they had to base things on the original trilogy, do you think that at some point, you know, with maybe in the next few years, that they could probably mulligan Galaxy's Edge and maybe change it up drastically? I mean, besides tuning it towards more of the Mandalorian timeline, I mean, like drastically change it for the better based on a lot of the criticism that's received. You know, as a theme park specialist,
I am almost 99.9% sure that it will get changed to Mandalorian because everyone's going there looking for Baby Yoda, looking for Mando. The people that I know that work there, they say over and over. So basically, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So when you walk into Galaxy's Edge, you're basically walking in the time period between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. The cast members that work there can only answer questions, can only pretend that they are in that time period. Yeah. So everyone's in that time period. So they don't know nothing about Mando. They don't know nothing about Luke. They don't know nothing about anything. And now they've broken their rule because they started selling Baby Yoda stuff because they know that's making money. You could actually get a photo op with Baby Yoda in Galaxy's Edge. So they started cracking their rule, their very own rule. About being an immersive experience. They don't even play Star Wars music in the park, bro.
Yeah, how the hell do you not do that? Like, that makes no sense.
Pump in John Williams. Exactly. How can you not pump in that John Williams music in the park? What do they do when you walk through the park? You hear like TIE Fighter fly sounds. That's it.
Okay, that's whack. That's incredibly. That's like showing up in no Harry Potter music. That's like no Harry Potter music in Universal. That's a damn shame.
Yeah, they pump in that Harry Potter music, and everyone's like, dun 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 dun. Exactly. I mean, they just like it's so different. But yeah, so I believe because Mando is now where Disney's probably gonna rest for like 10 years, that time period, because that's just what's working. It's an easy fix, man. It's an easy. Do
you think that they could ever change Batu into Tatooine? Because that's what I want them to do. To be honest with you.
They can. It's an easy fix. I mean, they literally could probably do it over a weekend.
Like that. That's what I think they
cantina.
Should.
They could change. It's built like Tatooine. It looks just like Tatooine.
They can make that. They can make the Falcon ride exactly where Han Solo takes off in Tatooine in A New Hope. Like that's how I look at that.
It's an easy fix. All that stuff is digital, like CGI movie stuff that they could sit. I feel they could sit down over a weekend and just fix it. And the part where Rise of the Resistance is, there's no the way that ride is kind of away from the rest of Batu. They could make that all Disney Star Wars stuff right there.
Yeah. And
then you take this little pathway to the Falcon, and then you got Tatooine right there. I mean, it's easy fix. So who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I hope at least some of that stuff gets addressed or whatnot. But Jay, thank you so much for chatting Star Wars, current stars with me.
Thank you.
We're gonna talk a little bit more on my Patreon for a bit because we got other stuff that I want to talk with you about that I think that a lot of people wanted us to chat about in this episode. But you guys are gonna have to join the Patreon to talk about this stuff. But Jay, where can everybody find you right now if they want to reach out to you or check out where you're doing?
Oh man, everything Drunk3PO. Just type in Drunk3P, the letter O. You'll find me on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. And see everything that's going on there, or find me over at Geeks and Gamers. That's my home.
Yeah.
All things Geeks and Gamers. I'm usually on their Twitch channel, their channel. I run their.
You play a lot of games. I see you playing a lot of Mario Kart. I don't think I didn't see that. I saw that.
I'm terrible at it, but it's fun to do with family.
I saw you playing Call of Duty one time with Theory. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Terrible at it, but still.
But definitely go check that stuff out. There's going to be links in the description box below, guys, for you to see that stuff. Again, thank you, Jay, for chatting with me. Guys, let me know in the comments section, did you enjoy this episode? Do you guys want to see more episodes like this? Talk to me about that stuff in the comments down below. Of course, leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you can. If you're a fan of Drunk3PO or if you just love Star Wars or anything else, subscribe to the channel. Come show some love. But we're going to talk more on Patreon, and we will see you guys again very soon. Peace out, and stay epic, everybody.